What's up, guys? My name is Gino Palumba, 22-year-old real estate investor from Atlanta, Georgia here. On this video, what I'm going over is the price section on our scripts for our lead managers and acquisition managers. Now, on this call, I'm doing it in our mastermind. So me and Chandler have a mastermind. It's $1,000 a month. We have 2 calls every week. So 1 on Monday, which is me, sales, which is this call right here, and 2 operations or marketing or whatever you need on Thursday, which is with Chandler. So this is one of my sales calls. It's every week. I just go over one section of our script, and this one was obviously the price section. So if you're interested in joining that, leave a comment down below, message me on Instagram, all that good stuff. But hey, let's get into this video. Hope you guys gain some value, and if you do, please share. So what did you do? And again, because it's all of you guys actually first time. I don't know where everyone else is at, but so we'll go over diagnosis script. This is our lead manager script, right? So we'll go over the section of price because that's what this week's about. So as a lead manager, what are we trying to do? Obviously figure out what the price is. So this gets kind of confusing if you've seen it for the first time of what all this stuff is, but I'll just go through it, obviously. So first thing the lead manager is going to do, right? We already got them emotional in their motivation. We want them as emotional as possible. We go into price and they're going to ask them, hey, do you have a price range you're looking to get? If they say no to that, then they go here. Okay, but I understand you don't have a net price, but if I can give you a cash as is offer and we pay all closing costs, do you at least have a range you would want to get? No, I don't have a range, Gino. Okay, well, I can have my home buying specialist give you a call within 24 hours, but just off the record, I mean, do you have at least a 10 to 15 grand range you're looking for so you can assist you more efficiently? No, Gino, for the third time, I do not have an offer. Well, then they go straight into our famous one here. Okay, no worries. I do see other investors are buying properties and we'll start price anchoring 50 to 60% really of Zillow value, but even comparable values, that's something I don't want to just you guys to see Zillow, but comparable values. Again, that's not our offer, just what other investors are buying properties for cash at. What would you say if they offered you that, Logan? And what we're trying to do here is like, if they can't give us a number, then we're just going to price anchor the hell out of them. And again, we're not saying it's our offer. The big key here is we're saying this is what other investors are buying for. So right here, that once this thing, I guarantee it's made us at least 6 figures in the last month doing, because I've listened to calls where sellers will say, Gino, I want, 200,000. They'll even give us the number, and 200,000 is the market. And we'll go in and we'll say, hey, but other investors are at, $80,000 to $100,000. And they'll say, well, I mean, to be honest, and we'll get there, right? So you'll say, what were you hoping for at least? And they'll say, and this seller particularly said, well, I want at least 145. And they'll drop quick because you instantly anchor them and make them feel not bad, but if they're just throwing out 200, when you tell them the reality of what other investors are buying for, it definitely shifts their mindset. But let's keep going in the script. So before I get off the tangent and just keep talking. So again, we say, what would you offer? What would you say if they offered you that, right? We anchor them. Let's say they wanted, to make it simple, say they wanted 100,000. I see other investors buying properties at 40 to 50,000. What would you say if they offered you that? They would say, hell no, most of the time, right? So it's, oh no, hell no, I'm not taking that, Gino. That's way too low. Again, like I said, that's not our offer, Mr. Seller. It's just what other investors are buying properties for cash at. What were you hoping I was going to say? And this is when that seller in the example I gave said 145 at least. So it's very, very, very important to make sure every single call our lead managers are on and they make it through the 4.5 minute mark, which means that they pretty much already know this is going to be an appointment, that they have to anchor the seller. They have to price anchor. I don't care what they're looking for. If let's say, what if their offer, Gino, is, what if it's worth 200 and they say they want 175? Well, we're anchoring off 175. We're always anchoring off their number if it's lower than market value, because we want to hit them and see really, truly what is the best price that we can get them for, right? Now, if they say I want to market close to, if I want to, so I want market value, a number close to market value, right? Because you say, what were you hoping I was going to at least say? They say, I want a number close to market value. I understand, but what if an investor was, and we'll come back with them. Our lead managers actually work this in themselves now. I never even added this. They told me they want to start doing this. So what they'll say is, hey, for my example, we can pay 40, or excuse me, not we, other investors are buying properties at $40,000 to $50,000. What were you hoping I was going to say? Well, Gino, be honest with you, I want market value or close to market value. I understand, but what if an investor would, offer you $55,000, $60,000. I'm guessing that still wouldn't work for you. And what they're going to try to see is there any room of negotiation on the lead manager front? Obviously, the lead managers aren't closing the deal, but they're trying to see, is there any pull off of it? Right. Well, Gino, I told you I wanted 100 because, again, in this example, that's market value. But if you did 55, 65, I mean, if you came to 75, I might think about it. Again, the whole purpose of the lead manager's role in this instance is just to get the lowest, absolute lowest price from the seller. It's not to agree on it and make an offer, right? Their job is just to figure out, dig deep, and see what is the lowest price we can get the seller. So they use these tactics like that, right? They say the offer is fair. Hey, 55, 65 is fair. It's self-explanatory. They're going to set them up with the home buying specialist, right? And let's say that you give a price, or they give you a price now. So let's go over that. So to follow this, if they say that's fair, we're going to go to setting expectations, which is down here, which we go over next week. But let's say they give you a price now. Remember, that example is if they never gave you one. You just price anchored. Now, let's say they give you a price. Hey, Logan, I want $100,000. Okay, thank you for that. Is that the best you can do? Because I just want to make sure when I present my number, the number to my home buying specialist, that's what we call our acquisition managers, it will have the best chance of being accepted. Logan says, yes, that's my best offer. Okay, great. Thank you. I do want to share with you that other cash buyers are buying properties at $40,000 to $50,000. Again, this is not our offer. Remember, this is a whole different situation. This is as if the seller gave us his number right away. Again, that is not our offer, just what other investors are buying properties for cash at Logan. What would happen if an investor offered you that? Hell no, Gene, I'm not taking that shit. Okay, again, like I said, that is not our offer. That is just what other investors are buying properties at. What were you hoping I was going to at least say? Pause. Right? And you'll see, because you just price anchored them and you blamed other investors, one, there's no hard feelings between you and the seller. There's no, freaking tension or anything. If you really set expectations about that's not our offer. And you'll see there, if you tell them that other homes are asking 40 to 50 and they're asking 100, it's just a human mind to think, oh, I'm unreasonable right now. Like, I'm just asking a reasonable. If Logan or if Gino's telling me that I'm 40 to 50 other investors and I'm wanting 100, I must be asking a little bit too much. I mean, what was the lowest I really would go? And they're thinking this all within, 2 or 3 seconds in the back of their head. I mean, obviously not every seller, right? But that's what we see happen a lot. And let's say he says, Logan even says, I was hoping you would say 95, 100. Okay, I understand. But, what if an investor were to offer you, and this 15 to 30 grand is because most of our homes are 200 or 250 to 300, right? So if I'm really at 100K and we're talking about 40 to 50 and we're going to come up to 55, 60, I probably wouldn't do that. I would probably go from 40 to 50 to 50 to 60, if that makes sense, right? If you come up at all, because what we're just trying to see is, hey, will they come up even a little bit more though, or down a little bit? So again, I understand, but what if an investor were to offer you, and let's say we use what I just said, what if another investor, instead of offering 40 to 50, what if they offered you 50 to 60? I'm guessing that still wouldn't work, right? We'll go negative. We'll sound like a puppy dog to see if they rescue us at all, right? Steve Trang method. Hey, I'm guessing that still wouldn't even work if we came up to 50 to 60, or if another investor came up to 50 or 60, right? Because it's not our offer. I mean, no, it probably wouldn't, but I could possibly do 75, but that's my absolute lowest. And again, we're just trying to get their finest number or their lowest number. And if that works out, great. I'll have my acquisition manager reach out to you guys within 24 hours and they'll move to setting expectations. Right now, what if they still want market value? We'll phrase it different ways, but if it's a follow-up, I'll be honest with you. I know when you spoke with Hannah, they said you wanted that $100,000, Logan. As investors buying properties for cash and market value, it's not something we do. Do you still think we'd be a fit? Or, hey, Logan, we've been talking, for a while now. I understand that it seems like 100 grand is important to you. As investors buying properties for cash and market value, it's not something we do. Do you still think we'd be a fit? Another Steve Trang thing. If they say yes, that they still think we're a fit and we don't buy properties for cash and market value, we were going to go back into negotiating as a lead manager to truly see what their best price would be. But if they say no, like a lot of them will say, because like, oh, I just want market value. Okay, thanks for being honest with me. There's a few other ways we could work together. And they'll go into this realtor pitch, right? I understand it sounds like you'd only consider selling if you got highest offer closest to market value. Of course, they say, yes, I want the most I can get. That's fair. I'll be honest with you. Again, buying properties for cash at market value is not something we do. But if we're able to somehow get the price you were asking for, Are you open to hearing other selling options? Right. This is just a realtor pitch. You guys can do whatever you want. We went pretty granular here, but yes, tell me more. Great. I have my partner, Matthew. Matthew's a guy that we just partnered with that's just handling all these listings for us. And I'll be honest, like this is even a little bit outdated. I got to edit it a little bit because we're not even saying he's like a different guy. What we started doing now is just saying, hey, I might have someone else. It's particularly right now for TV ads. We're not even telling them that we're having a realtor come out. We're literally just saying, like, understanding when we're talking to them that they only want 100 grand. They only want 100 grand. Say, okay, well, I can have, Matt come out to you and come take a look at the property, because the guy, Matt, again, he's an agent, and he told us, like, Gino, I don't care if they don't say they want a realtor, don't even mention I'm a realtor, just send me out there. And that's what one of our mentors, Darren, also said too as well. Like, don't even say to these sellers that you're going to send a realtor out there. Just train your lead managers to know if these people want market value and they want to actually sell. Like, they're not just saying, I want to sell if you give me my price, but they say, yeah, I really want to sell. Then just tell them, hey, look, I'll have Matt go out there. And that's what we've been starting to do. Matt's going to go out there and he's going to present you some of our, a couple of our selling options. Right. So it's a little bit outdated in this, but this is what we used to do. So just to give you guys an idea of how it's shifting a little bit. So again, Matt would, now what it is just, hey, they'll realize this guy's not motivated. They'll realize the price is high, but they still want to sell. They'll go in and say, hey, okay, that's all the information I need. What I'll do is I'll have Matt, when can we set up a time for Matt, one of our home buying specialists, to come out? We don't call him a realtor. We just act like he's another acquisition manager. When can we have Matt, our home buying specialist, come out to the property so he can present you with a couple of different selling options for you? And because Matt's going to go out there with the cash offer, even though we know they're not going to take it, but then he's going to show them, a listing offer to get them the fastest, route. So like, that's a new way we've been doing with our lead managers and a strategy. So again, that's the lead management side. That's just a lead manager side. Do you have any question, guys, on this? Because I know it's your first time hearing this, a lot of you. So do you guys have any questions about the process at all? What's going on?
Pretty much sounds like lead managers, go in there to try to pretty much anchor them and find out their real motivation.
Yeah, that's a part of it. Say it again. Cool.
I was just adding on, like, this, it's so much at this stage about setting expectations, right? Like,
yeah, that's the. So if you guys look at, obviously we spent a whole calls on setting expectations, but like this is the beginning of it, which you guys can see in other videos. But now when you get the price, obviously it's just trying to set them up, and try to get the lowest price. So for today, when we're going over price, yeah, today's job is just to filter and figure out what is the lowest price. But the overall script, like what our goal is to dig into as much motivation, but setting expectations is one of the most important part of it, which you guys can see on obviously the other calls, going over it. But.
Yeah, Gino, I was talking to Rodrigo, my lead manager today. I think he's we're talking about at the beginning, you're setting expectations, and or even in the intro, you're like, hey, you still interested in selling? And they say, yeah, for the right price. And he kind of wants to jump into the price discussion right then and there. What do you think about that? Or do you want to go right back on script and just wait till we get there in the process?
Oh, so good question. So yeah, since a lot of you guys, like I keep saying, but this is your guys' first call. So what I preach a lot about in a lot of the calls is to disqualify as soon as possible. And what I mentioned kind of when I was talking just now, as I said, if they're over 4.5 minutes, they should be price anchoring. And why I said 4.5 minutes is because if any of my callers are on the phone more than 4.5 minutes with the seller, then it better be an appointment. I teach them very quickly to disqualify. So Rodrigo and Logan saying, I'm setting expectations as soon as possible. You want to sell? I understand. Thanks for taking my call. Is it okay if I share with you before we get started? I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions about the property and situation. If you feel we're not a fit at any time, please let me know and I'll do the same. Seem fair? Yeah, that seems fair, Gino, but what's my offer? Well, if we are a good fit, then I'll transfer you to my home buying specialist or schedule a call with our home buying specialist. He's going to present you that offer, Mr. Seller. Well, I want to know my offer now. Well, what even has you thinking of selling? So this is what I'm getting to. What we do, Logan, as soon as we see they're not motivated or only sell at the right price, we're going to go into motivation. We're going to try to figure out if this person has a reason they want to sell. Because if there's no reason they want to sell, hey, just because you called me, Gino, that's the only reason I'm thinking of. Okay, so you're telling me, Logan, there's no other reason you thought of selling other than the fact that I called you. No, I don't give a crap. I don't need to sell. You called me. I understand. And you remember when I told you just 2 minutes ago or less than that, like 30 seconds ago, Logan, that, I would tell you if we're not a fit at any time. And you said that's fair. Yeah, I'll be honest right now, Logan, it's completely transparent. We're not going to be your fit because we don't buy properties for cash and market value. And literally, because what I did quickly, and it's just our call, we summarized, but I hit motivation. I see if this person really wants to sell. If they're trying to be red, kick me out the phone. I don't need to sell. You're calling me, bothering me. I want to get off the phone as soon as possible. So I'm just going to tell the seller I'm not a good fit for you. Right?
Yeah. So they bring up price, you dig into motivation and see if there might be
Yeah,
something.
they bring up, hey, it depends on the price or whatever. Well, what had you thinking of selling? No reason. I just want to know your price. I'd only sell at the right price. Okay, when you say the right price, I'd probably actually hit motivation one more time. Okay, so you're telling me, I know you keep saying the price is important to you, but there's no other reason you thought of selling. No, Gino, what is the price? I don't care about. I don't need to sell. I'd only sell for the right price. Okay, well, what's the right price for you, Mr. Seller? Well, aren't you going to tell me? Well, like I told you, a home buying specialist presents. I got to see if we're the right fit first, because I'll be honest with you, Logan, I don't know if we're going to be the best fit. Well, what's your offer? Again, I can't give it to you. I never just broke. I can't give it to my home buying specialist, but what I can share with you is other cash investors. And this isn't our offer, Logan, but other cash investors are at $40,000 to $50,000. Oh, hell no, Gene. I want 150. I understand. Yeah, we're probably not a good fit for you. I wouldn't even waste my. I'm getting off in 4.5 minutes is my goal as a lead manager.
Yeah. Okay. Makes
So to
sense.
answer your question, to make it all long story short, yeah, just go into motivation. I hit motivation. I don't go right into price ever. I got to go to motivation first, but then I go into price.
Okay.
If need to be, to disqualify. We won't go through condition like you said. We'll go quick.
Right on. I appreciate it.
Rodrigo, you gonna say something?
I was just like, if that wouldn't take 4 minutes, man, that would probably take like 30 to
For sure.
45 seconds.
Yeah. So the reason I brought up 4.5 minutes is because you're not going to get sellers red every time. You're not going to get sellers asking for price. You might get in set expectations, condition, timeline. And by the time you get to motivation, the sellers just doesn't have any motivation. Not all sellers are going to be red. That's why it's 4.5 minutes or less, because sometimes you could talk to a seller and get to motivation and they're fine talking with you. But then by the time you get to motivation, you realize this person doesn't want to sell at all. And that's why you're at like the 4.5 minute mark. So you should end the call there. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, you in that instance, yeah, you should be done in 45 seconds, a minute. That would be ideal in that situation. Get off the phone and remember you got a needle in the haystack. Our guys right now help their numbers a lot. 45 calls to 1 appointment for a lead manager, not 45 conversations, 45 calls in our CRM for an appointment. So we need to get to the next call as soon as possible, right? To get to the closer to our appointment. So always be thinking that, Rodrigo, too. Now your numbers might be a little bit different depending on phone numbers and lists and stuff, but just know that you're trying to dial through that needle in that haystack as soon as possible. You're trying to get there, right? So something to think about.
How do you
go ahead, Colton?
Oh, I was just going to ask you, how are you setting your follow-up buckets? Are you going to get into that? Like, how are you classifying these people for
stuff, but I can get
follow-up?
into that. We can talk about that. Let's talk about that after I go over the AM stuff. That's mostly Chandler does follow-up stuff. He handles all that stuff, but
all right.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I'll show you guys what our follow-ups look like in certain reasons. I'm actually not that good at it. That's why Chandler's better, but I can try to talk about it.
All right.
Anything else on lead management side over here in terms of the script? We're good. All right. So what I'll do now is do the same thing on the acquisition manager side. This one's going to get a little bit more advanced, but let's just get into it and we can go from there. And I won't go into any objections, but I will just go into setting the offer up and the price. So again, this is the offer call. If I do not have this, because this looks like it's just my ferocity one. See, I want to see what ones you guys got access to. Obviously, that's not going to come up on a Google search. Remind me if this is not what you guys look like, the script you have access to. Let me know so I can copy and paste the same because we've edited it recently. But let's get into this one. So again, this is the home buying specialist or acquisition manager. They've already talked to the seller. They answer. They've already built some rapport. They've already set the stage. They've already addressed roadblocks. They stated the motivation, the most important part, and now they're setting the offer up, right, or the price. So this is how it goes, right? Hey, thank you for all that with regards to the motivation. So now getting into what the property qualified for. We don't say what our offer is. We let them know what the property qualified for. Makes it seem way more like legit. And also, like, if you're going to the bank and they tell you you qualified for $200,000, you do not really negotiate with the bank. You know, it makes it seem like a number you can't negotiate on, right? If you qualify for a certain amount. So that's why we do it too. Subconsciously plays a little role in there. We learned this from Tiffany High, which actually learned that from Sandler, I believe. So keep in mind though, Mr. Sud, this is what you will walk away with in your pocket, minus your mortgage and prorated taxes, which is a state of Georgia thing. Again, setting expectations with them. You do not have to pay closing costs. You do not have to pay any realtor fees. The property will be sold as is, which means you do no repairs and you do no cleaning, as well as, of course, and we'll restate the motivation and paint the picture again, as well as, of course, solving, you know, solving your issue with getting down to Florida as soon as possible to take care of your mom. You know, we're going to be able to get you there as soon as possible so you can be there for your mom. Now, with that being said, your property qualifies for $121,464. Always a specific number, you know, never split the difference. I'm sure you guys know about that, right? We want to make it as specific as possible, as if we really came up with what it qualified for, right? And this is when it comes go time with a couple of our bullet points here, right? So we hit them low. We always price it in. You know, you don't want to give them your highest number at first. So with that being said, your property qualifies for that amount. I told you guys 121,000 and some change. They say, oh, it's just too low. Well, here's one of our rebuttals. We quickly handle them with. Good awkward pauses, at least 3 or 4 seconds. Just off the record, another Steve reference here. Off the record, I mean, I understand it's too low, but what were you hoping for at least? With Gino, I wanted at least $135,000, and you're offering me 121. Oh, I understand. And we have a couple of different rebuttals, but I'll go into it and say, you know, I understand. You know, we might not be the best fit for you. What do you think we should do? Well, I'll be honest with you, Gino. I can negotiate a little bit, but I can't negotiate much. Okay, how much is a little bit? And we'll start negotiating. Or they might say, what do you think we should do? I don't know. I'm not doing anything unless I get 135. So then we'll start doing our little negotiation, kind of as the lead manager did. So you're saying, you know, even if I was able to come up to like 123 or 223,000 or even 124,000, you know, that's still probably wouldn't be enough. And let's say our MAO on here is 130, right? So she wants 135. We're saying, hey, even if I come up to 123, 124, that still wouldn't be enough. No, Gina, that wouldn't be enough. The lowest I would go is 132. All right, let's just say. Okay, so 132 is the lowest you go, and there's nothing I can do to probably, you know, have the price come down any bit on your side, right? No, I told you 132 is the lowest I would go. So once you feel you hit a brick wall, right, we'll go over the objections, price objections in another video, another call. But then we'll go and if we hit that wall, we'll go into our MAO, right? Let's just say in a picture perfect world, and I'm not saying I can do this, you know, Colton, but if I was able to improve, you know, $130,000, you probably still wouldn't even be interested, huh? Well, now you're getting close. Now you are getting close, and we'll keep negotiating, right? We'll go up to our MAO. We'll look like a puppy dog, so you probably still aren't interested. And remember, we're not saying we got it approved. We're just saying that, you know, what if we could do this? Because what happens here, let's say in the picture perfect scenario, which I know it's not always is, it's, you know, 50-50, I would assume, if it is, right? Let's say Colton does drop. He does that rarity. He comes down and says, well, if you got 130 approved, you know, I would be interested. Okay. So if I got 130 approved, you would be interested. And then I would come in here and I would nail them with, you know, if I was able to get 130 approved, like you said, you know, you would be interested, you know, what would happen next if I was able to get that approved? This is a big word right here. And I know it's not in the script, it's in one of the objection script, but you know, what would happen next, Colton, if I was able to get 130,000 approved? I know you said you would be interested, but what would happen next? Well, I would sign the documents, because again, I know it's hard doing it when we're just going over price, but in expectations, we've already told them if we're a good fit, we would go over an agreement, right? So when I say to Colton now, what would happen next if we accept your offer? Well, I'll go over the agreement, like I said with you. Okay, and guess what? Right there, Logan just post-closed, or Colton just post-closed himself. Because Logan just closed himself. I didn't say, Logan, if I get this approval, you go over the agreement today with me. Listen to what just happened. Logan, I just asked him what would happen next if I was able to get that approved. Logan literally said, I would go over the agreement with you. So he just closed himself. So right there, not only does that relieve the stress of the hard close of a salesman, now the seller is going to have a hard time of giving seller or buyers remorse or selling remorse because he just closed himself. I didn't tell Colton to go over the agreement now. He just told me that's what he's going to do. So now when I tell him, hey, I got it approved, I guess the next steps would be to go over the agreement. Colton's going to say, yeah, I know. That's what I said I was going to do with you. So he just, again, this is just one little phrase. What would happen next is something that's changed our whole business model. Again, I got it from Steve. All this stuff, we've learned from someone, but I got it from Steve. What would happen next? And when a seller can paint their own picture of what's going to happen, and again, when you set them up like that, 99% of the time, like, yeah, I'm ready to sign a contract. I mean, you would literally, it's so funny if you listen to some of these live calls, you'll hear the sellers like, well, you would send over the contract and we would go over it. That's what you said. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. That's exactly what we want to hear because we want them to close themselves and tell themselves that, right? Now, where it gets a little bit confusing here on our script is, you see if they still say no, go to pre-sale. So let's say they didn't go to our MAO. Let's say Colton said 132 was his lowest he would go, and our MAO cash is 130. Well, we have another strategy we've been implementing since January and a little bit before that is we call it the pre-sale program or novation or novation or pre-sale program is what we call it. And pretty much prepping the seller and say, hey, we want to pre-sell it on the market, the property. And so it allows us to list on the market. Now, funny thing is we've actually took out pre-sale program out of our vocabulary, and we literally just don't even have such a thing as pre-sale program. It's literally, hey, we can do this one MAO. So this has changed as well. So I kind of want to delete this. But I just want their mindset because now what we do, guys, is we list everything on MLS, which I think a lot of you guys are aware of. And so even if we do not get our MAO, or even if we get them, in a cash price, and for this instance, my cash price MAO was 130. I know this is confusing. So let's say your MAO for cash, like selling to an investor, was 130 in this case. But if you were able to sell it on the MLS, obviously your MAO is going to go up because you're going to be able to sell for a higher price. So let's just say let's say just in this instance, right? We're just playing what ifs. Let's say your pre-sale MAO was 135. So Colton, I would be telling him, Colton, hey, you only want 132. Again, I'm going back as if Colton didn't go to 130. Hey, let's say in a picture perfect world, I was able to approve, 130,000. You probably still wouldn't be interested. Colton would say, no, Gino, I only want 132. That's it. Well, I know now as the home buying specialist that I have a number here for 135 that I could do for the pre-sale program. Basically means the program that lets me list on the market. Now, I'm not going to tell the seller that there's a whole different program, but what I'm going to tell the seller is this. Well, Colton, it seems like 132 is an important number for you to get. So I do have a way I could get that for you. I just need you to be flexible on one thing. And Colton say, what is that? Well, additional access to the property. Because our method, again, is to put this on the market and have as much showings as possible. So we're going to ask, say, we just need additional access on the property. Colton's going to say, how much access? What do you mean? Well, we would need just about, 2 1-hour time slots a week to have some of our financial partners and retail investors walk through the property. Well, why do you need all those people to come in? Well, this allows us to present the property to more of our retail investors and financial partners. That way we can give you the price you're wanting. Again, Colton, this is the reason I'm bringing this up is so we can get you your $132,000. All right, perfect. Congrats. Now I just need to send over the agreement, right? Let's say they accept it. If no offers accepted, then we're going to set up a survey call. So let's go over that. If they accept that offer, if they say, Colton said, yeah, I'll do it, Gino. Okay, perfect. So, if I get you that 132 approved, right? Because we haven't even told them we could do 132. We just said, would you be open to giving me more access? So if we were able to do 132, Colton, and get you the price you want, what would happen next? Well, I would sign the contract. Perfect. And we would go now over the agreement. We would go into the contract call. Let's say, Colton says, heck no, I don't want access, Gino. I would say, Colton, well, if you don't want access, and I go, this is $2,000 number, more than likely, I would actually tell my acquisition manager just to
lock it up, because we have a 30 grand profit projectability on all of our MAOs. So if he's 2 grand up, Colton, I would tell him to still lock it up because we make 28 grand. But let's just say in this instance, we couldn't negotiate. We couldn't get anything under contract. I would say, okay, Colton, it looks like we're not a good fit. No, hey, one last thing. Now that this is all over, Mr. Colton, which we never usually like to say Mr., we just say the seller's name. Now this is all over, Colton. Our company cares a lot about our seller experience when we talk with them. So typically we like to transfer you to our customer service representative after a phone appointment, just for a quick survey about how well I did today. So if you don't mind, please stay on the line for a quick transfer to one of my customer representatives, Jared, for a few quick questions. So even if we don't get an offer, we're going to try to set up a survey call, which is a whole nother thing. We can get into that after this, but that's a whole nother thing of what we do. So we're constantly, we're trying to go over every avenue and how we can get this thing done. But yeah, I know that was a lot of stuff. I went in order and I know it kind of was confusing. So we got 24 minutes to talk about it even more detail. But again, this pre-sale program now is kind of eliminated out of our thing. I know it's still in the script here, but we kind of just subconsciously do this on any deal. Because even if he accepted my 130 offer, when I go over the agreement with Colton, I would still have the right to list on the MLS, and I still would preference that we're going to have people come through for showings. So if that makes kind of sense. I know it's kind of confusing, but hit me with the questions now. I'm better at answering questions.